We'll run it back.
Long stay, Nasubi remained completely nude.
Round
The
attempt
majority
number
of his
2
time was spent submitting contest applications. In the
amateur
first
hour.
month, Nasubi applied
Okay.
to
So,
5,700 stakes could
I'm going to go back to right here.
was chosen was a struggling comedian desperate for fame who
All right. This is a...
There he is.
Yeah. So this was a Japanese game show, and you entered a lottery. Like, it was a bunch of, like, you know, not struggling actors, but people who wanted to be on a game show or whatever. But this guy was a struggling comedian who signed up to try to be on a game show. Then they brought all these contestants into a room, and there was, like, you know, a couple episodes beforehand that where there was ended up being a lottery of a group, just the people left in the room, and he was the one chosen. From there, they take him to this apartment, and they strip him down naked, and he's left with nothing. Only water and those magazines. That's it. So, these magazines just above my head. The only way he can get anything, food or entertainment-wise or clothes or anything, just basic necessities, he has to win them through sweepstakes on the backs of the magazines. So he has to enter in a sweepstakes and hope that he wins. And this game show is called Life of Prizes. All right, so here we go.
went by the name Nasubi. He was given only water, and in order to provide himself with food, clothing, or any means of entertainment during his stay in the room, Nasubi must win them via sweepstakes. The sweepstakes could be found in the stacks of magazines, which he could enter by mailing contest applications using the envelopes provided. This was the point of the game, to survive solely on his contest prizes.
That's all you...
Once Nasubi's winnings reached a monetary value of 1 million yen, or roughly 9,000 US dollars, he was declared the winner and allowed to exit the room, resume his life, and enjoy his newfound celebrity. So, did Nasubi succeed? That all depends on how you define success. To answer this question, let's take an in-depth look at Nasubi's time inside the room. Immediately upon being left alone, Nasubi's priority was to cover himself, and the very first contest he applied for during this first episode of the live stream was an apron. Not only did he not win the apron, but during his entire 15-month-long stay, Nasubi remained completely nude. The majority of his time was spent submitting contest applications. In the first month, Nasubi applied to 5,748 sweepstakes.
Good lord.
While waiting for notifications of his first winnings, Nasubi was taunted by ill fortune. He answered the phone to misdialed callers, and during one frustrating afternoon, after several days without food, a ramen delivery boy knocked on Nasubi's door by mistake. But after many days of waiting, becoming desperately hungry, Nasubi finally won his first prize.
She's not
12
using like
pots
any of the
fiber
clips.
jelly, which he immediately
Penguin has
began
some
eating.
actual clips where you get to hear the conversation with him and the ramen boy. And the ramen boy is like, oh, I have
His
delivery,
second
blah, blah,
prize
blah, for
was
so-and-so
5
name. He's like, that's not my
kilograms of
name.
rice. Unfortunately,
He's like,
quickly
oh,
realized he
I
didn't
must have the wrong
pot to
house,
cook
and
it
then
in.
just walks away,
After
and like,
failing
dude's
to eat the rice
defeated.
raw, Nasubi decided to
Yeah.
cook the rice in an empty fiber jelly container by setting them close to the stove burner.
Yeah, he got, so one of his winnings was fiber jelly, whatever the fuck that is, and that's
For
what
the
was
month
keeping
of
him alive,
February,
basically.
Nasubi continued to win the following: 1,000 yen, body soap, canned spaghetti, subsequently realizing he didn't have a can opener for the meat sauce. Despite many prizes having little or no practical value, Nasubi seemed grateful for everyone he received, and it's no doubt that with an entire waking life consisting of little more than filling out contest applications, the brief adrenaline rush of the knock at the door became his only source of excitement. Nasubi's basic needs of course had to be met, so food was of paramount importance. Although, let's remember that the higher the monetary value of the prize, the closer Nasubi was to
Yeah,
his
so it
1
didn't
million
matter if
goal.
it wasn't what he wanted.
Reaching this
If
goal
it was
proved
expensive, he was
incredibly
excited.
time-consuming.
He's like,
Yeah.
I want an
To get
exercise
halfway
bike
there,
or
it
no, or
took
whatever.
Nasubi 6
He's like,
months
that's an
and
expensive item. I'm getting
38,000
close.
contest entries. During this time, some notable prizes included a bicycle, which once the initial excitement wore off, he remembered had no practical value in his tiny room. He rode it around briefly, then never again on the live stream. Panties, which was his first article of clothing, although
Real
they
quick.
didn't fit.
Real
A
quick,
stuffed
pause.
seal, which
So, back to the panties. Those were... I can't believe she left this out. Those were used panties.
What?
Yeah. He won a contest for like a Japanese porn star and got a pair of her used panties, and then they didn't fit, so he couldn't even wear them.
Huh.
But you have to know, like, he didn't know that he entered that contest.
Oh,
most
yeah.
likely. He
Yeah.
was literally, he's just like, okay, magazine, boom, yes. Like, he's just filling them out, sending them in. So, like, out of all the clothes, but this is where it kind of gets a little shady, because, like, he won a lot of stuff, and eventually he gets good. Like, real good. Like, so good where, like, he's not even stressing it. He's like, but he's probably also going crazy, but he's kind of like not stressing it, and he's winning shit left and right and all this stuff, but like never close. And it's like, that's like a little shady where it's like the producers could just intercept the deliveries and be like, yeah, you just never won clothes, but you definitely won clothes, and you never got those clothes because the show's better if you're naked and you have an eggplant hanging off your fucking junk. Like, so that's where like this kind of gets a little shady, and some other people have talked about it. Like, this was basically torture. And he never even, like, yeah, he signed a contract for like entering in to hopefully be on a show, but they literally took him from that room to this room. He never signed anything again. Once he was in this room, he was locked in this room unless he decided to quit. So he didn't know what he was getting himself into.
But you don't want to quit.
Exactly. You don't want to quit, but you literally, I mean, like,
Look at this man's physique. He's
you know, every day,
death.
exactly, every day he was probably hoping, okay, I'm gonna get some food today. They're like, you know, I'm gonna get fed, but it wasn't like that. They literally tortured this man for a year, and like, and he just kept hoping for like the best.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Dude, man, it's insane. You know, this lady's kind of talking over some points that have been made.
That was hilarious, and you know it.
oh, this is a great show.
Oh no,
great.
Not that. What I just said was hilarious, and you know it.
He named Nasu, befriending it.
Yeah, Hope Kane.
A 14-inch TV set, although there was no antenna or cable, so all he could view was static. A toothbrush and toothpaste, which allowed him to brush his teeth for the first time during his 3-month stay. Around the 6-month mark, the show had become incredibly popular, and the local news media somehow discovered where Nasubi's secluded room was located. So, producers woke Nasubi in the middle of the night, blindfolded him, and escorted him to a new, yet nearly identical room.
And they told him he was starting to not win a lot. He was kind of like on a down streak, and he knew that, and they knew that. So they said this was for his good fortune.
Before this moment,
because like they believe, Japanese people believe in fortune like heavily. So
down to a 10-minute weekly summary.
But like they basically said, like your luck had ran out in that home. You need a new home to get new luck because you're sending them in from the same address.
You know, around with a joystick in order to censor his genitalia. As you can see, the quality of the live stream is primitive, but keep in mind this is in the late 90s. It took Nasubi another 3 months to get 2/3 of the way to his 1 million yen goal, and throughout the months of August, September, and October, Nasubi submitted an additional 17,000 contest entries. Notable winnings included a watermelon, tickets to see Spice Girls the movie, a VHS player to go with the TV set he had won several months back. After this expensive win, Nasubi hit a string of bad luck. At one point, he went a week without hearing a knock at the door. And during one drastic period, Nasubi completely ran out of food. Rather than rescuing him and risk spoiling the tension of the show, producers opted to relocate Nasubi a second time in hopes that the change would bring about good luck. This new location did indeed prove lucky, as Nasubi won several very valuable prizes, including a PlayStation, which he played non-stop for 4 days straight, but he soon banned himself from it after recognizing it as a distraction from filling out contest entries. A tent which he lived in for several days, but whose sheer size prevented him from doing his dance of gratitude during
Dude, you've been nude for 6 months. You might as well.
Nasubi disassembled his tent and put it away. In the month of December, Nasubi won a very expensive set of automobile tires, a 10,000 yen gift voucher, and finally, putting him just over his 1 million yen goal, a small bag of rice. And after 335 straight days of nothing but sleeping, eating food when available, eating dog food when there was nothing edible available.
Oh yeah, that was like a prize that he did win. So when he was hungry, he ate dog food.
Nasubi had finally won.
Hunger's a hell of a drug.
Had he? At this point, the ratings of the show hovered somewhere around 17 million Japanese viewers. For comparison, the highest watched episode of Game of Thrones sits at 16.5 million viewers. The people absolutely loved it, and the producers were making millions. The notion of ending it just yet was ridiculous. So, in the middle of the night, the producers woke Nasubi, showered him with confetti and streamers, and announced that he had finally won the contest. They returned his clothes, but Nasubi hadn't worn clothes in almost a year, and upon dressing, he'd realized he had developed a distaste for them, citing them as being itchy. Although Nasubi was under the impression that the show was over and his trip to a Korean carnival was a celebratory holiday for his hard work, little did he know that the producers had no intention of allowing him to go home yet. While still in Korea,
God, that's terrible.
Nasubi was
Right?
blindfolded once again.
Like, it was
and guided
already
to a
bad,
fourth
it just
room,
got shitty.
which consisted of the familiar magazine rack, stack of envelopes, and a Korean-Japanese dictionary. Despite not knowing the language, Nasubi was nevertheless instructed to put his Korean-Japanese dictionary to work applying for contests. His new goal was to earn enough
That is a
prizes
broken
to
man.
equate the price of a plane ticket back home to Tokyo.
Yeah, that's what they
It
said. They
needed
took him to
only
a
be
Korean.
one-way economy class ticket.
They took him to a
After
Korean
translating,
amusement
applying
park.
to nearly 7,000
Let him have the
contests.
time of his life, eating food, doing having a great time, in all celebration of him winning the show. They blindfold him, they drop him in a new apartment, not in Japan, in Korea, and now he has to do the same thing, but in a language he doesn't know.
Dog, that's like going, you want to see the Eiffel Tower? You're stuck in France.
Yeah.
Find your way home.
Yeah. You got to pay for your way home.
By the way, we stole your identity.
Yeah. It's not just you have to buy your ticket home. It's like you have to buy your ticket home from winning contests. Which are random, are picked at random. Yeah. So, and he even said there's I watched a couple more things on this, and it's like they go a little bit more in depth on how he was he didn't really want to do it. He was really? And then they're yeah. They just kept it going as if it was all a part of the show the whole time, And they're just yeah, now you gotta buy your ticket home. It's not over. But it's I think, honestly, he was taking one for the team. I think in his mind, he was if I say no and I say no, you take me home right fucking now, and I'm going to go live my life now. I'm done with your fucking stupid show. If he would have done that, they would have just got somebody else to put in that Korean room. And I think him in his mind, he was somebody else will get famous, but also someone else will get tortured.
Yeah.
So he's I wouldn't want anybody else to do this. Just let me do it. I'll just keep fucking doing it. Damn it.
I've done it for a year. This is my life now.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird.
Nasubi met his monetary goal in just 2 short months. But this all happened too quick. So producers required him to make another 9,000 yen in order to upgrade his ticket to business class.
Yep.
And Nasubi accomplished this by winning 2 bags of incredibly rare and expensive tea leaves. But this wasn't good enough for the producers, and so they then required him to upgrade his tickets to first class. No problem for Nasubi, who had
They just keep upping it
institutionalized
and
himself
upping
to
it.
this way of life, and after winning a picture frame, a fox skin, and a live octopus, Nasubi was a first-class passenger. It was finally over for Nasubi. He'd won. Producers blindfolded him and led him into his final room. Unbeknownst to Nasubi, the 4 walls of this room were collapsible, and behind them sat a live studio audience. As soon as Nasubi was left alone in his final room, habit kicked in, and he quickly undressed. After a dramatic countdown, the walls
They didn't ask him to
collapsed,
undress.
and Nasubi was
He just
met
did
with
that.
the cheering applause of thousands of people. The look of shock on his face was both cathartic and sad to watch. At this point, Nasubi had been living this lifestyle for 15 months, having barely spoken to another human being. He applied to 75,000 magazine contests, averaging 1,250 applications per week and nearly 200 applications per day. It took him several minutes to register what was happening. It's difficult to imagine the thoughts that must have been going through his mind in these moments. The show, Susunu Denpa
That man had
Shonen,
gone
was
feral.
intended to be comedic,
Yeah.
featuring a laugh track to
That is
punctuate
the human
almost
equivalent
every
of
moment
going
featured in the
feral.
broadcast. Even during the moments where Nasubi became visibly distraught, frustrated, and hopeless, the live stream would overlay silly sound effects to signal the viewer that his suffering is their entertainment, escorting them away from the intuitive response of pity.
雨の前座った。
おはようございます。
Susunu Denpa Shonen went on to film 3 more endurance experiments before being cancelled in 2002 due to the torturous nature of their content. Some of the other contests included requiring contestants to hitchhike across Africa, build a raft on a deserted island and float back to Tokyo, and finally, sit in a pitch-black room only to receive light and food whenever their favorite baseball team won a game. Although the show was cancelled, it found a new
That would
home in
suck if you're a
2009
Royals
on the
fan.
internet under the
Dude.
name number 2 Nihon Webcast.
What happened? It's been 6
But
years.
it was permanently
Fucked
cancelled.
up.
Even though most people outside of Japan aren't familiar with Nasubi or the Susunu livestream, Japan's reputation for their cruel reality television is widely acknowledged, and it has been often parodied in Western media. So the question many of you may have now is, what happened to Nasubi? Did he achieve the fame and fortune he was promised for his remarkable endurance? Well, yes and no. His journal of experiences, titled Nasubi's Prize Contest Life Diary, went on to be published and reached bestseller status. And despite not becoming the world-famous comedian he'd hoped to become, he did find small success in television and film acting. But it's undeniable the psychological toll the live stream had on Nasubi. Because he spent 15 months entirely naked, Nasubi reported having trouble wearing clothes after returning home, and his extended solitude caused his social skills to atrophy, and he found much of his comedic charm and social aptitude gone, leaving him awkward and shy. Even though Nasubi's exploits remain one of the most watched live streams in the history of Japan,
All right,
Yeah, man.
So
That one, that's all right.
I'm gonna give my thoughts on
If you
this, and then I got
enjoyed this-
stuff to say to Frazier. This was fucked.
Right? I told you it was something you had to know about. Like, this happened.
This was fucked. I've watched Japanese TV while I was there.
Yeah.
Like, it all seems like slapstick comedy
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And instead, that was just literal So, how do you feel about solitary confinement?
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. Here. Okay.
By the way, that goal you were reaching, you made it, buddy.
But
Here's something else. Get fucked.
yeah, get fucked.
That's it.
You're not going nowhere.
I got you for 3 years, brother. 3
Fraser,
years of
subscribe.
Fraser subbed with Prime. Damn.